Hello everyone, I'm Robert Hisee. Most of you will know me, but for you that don't, I'm the UK's #1 unconscious mind therapist. And welcome to the MindKite Podcast. Hello everyone, I'm Robert Hisee, the UK's #1 unconscious mind therapist, and I'm here today with the amazing Natasha Hamilton.
Hey!
Known for her wonderful voice, obviously, from Atomic Kitten. And thanks for joining us, Natasha. I really appreciate you coming all the way to lovely Essex today.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. What was it like as a kid for you growing up? You know, what was it like for you to become from Liverpool and moving into into the fame? How was that for you? What was the younger you like? You said you was a bit fiery earlier.
Yeah, so I was very determined to succeed. When I was a kid, I was bullied at school. I was picked on a lot outside of school. I was the ginger kid with the braces. I wore a head brace. My dad was mixed race in a predominantly white area, so I was different. So there was lots of different. Okay. I was an easy target for other kids.
For bullying, you mean? For
bullying. So for me, when I was in school and I started singing, everyone was like, "Oh wow, she's dead good," and I'd get praise. So that for me was like the encouragement of, that's what I want to do, because when I'm performing,
you felt like somebody.
I felt accepted.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't realise that at the time. It's only looking back as an adult now, I go, oh, that's why I was so determined, because for me that was escapism. I wasn't having to put up with all the shit that life was giving me when I was on stage singing or acting and doing all that. So I was very driven, very motivated. My parents weren't like stage school parents. They were just a bit like, this is what you want to do, okay, we'll support you. So they were dead supportive, but it was me sailing the ship, shall we say. When I left high school, I knew I wanted to go into performing arts. And my dad was very strict. So he was like, well, pass all your exams and you can go, and if you don't, tough shit, you're not going. So that was that just lit the flames really, and I was like, right, I'm going to succeed.
So you don't go to school?
Yeah, I wasn't naturally academic, but a lot of my friends were. So I pushed myself all the time. I'd be, at the dinner table at 1 o'clock in the morning, and my mum going, you need to go to bed, and I'd be like, I can't, I've got to finish this work. So within me, I was a driven kid. I didn't have to be told to do something. I just did it, and I went hell for leather.
And would you say it was the fact that you could get into singing and performing arts that did drive it? Would you say it was a driver, or would have you done it anyway?
For me, I used to practice every day. I'd come home from school, I'd put my backing tapes on, I'd have 2 hours between 4 and 6, because we lived in terrace houses. So I couldn't sing after 6.
Yeah.
So for those 2 hours, I'd be like, right, time to go, and I'd just sing a Whitney Houston again and again and again. I'd sing a Mariah Carey again and again and again.
Every day?
Every day. And my dad, right?
That's commitment, folks. So you singers out there want to be a singer, listen to this.
Yeah. So
I played guitar. My dad used to make me, because I was always naughty at school with my ADHD. I used to sit and play for 2 hours before I was allowed to play with mates.
Really?
Yeah, it's a similar sort of thing.
Yeah. So it was like, you've got 2 hours, go on, do what you want to do. But my dad was he was like a realist. So from a very young age, my dad was like, you're good, but you're not the best. There'll always be someone better than you. Like, it was kind of like...
Kept your feet on the ground, didn't you?
Totally. So I just aspired to be like the best singers. I never felt threatened, I never felt jealous, I just felt inspired. I've always come from this kind of like point of view of, I want to be like them, I just wanted to do good. So I just practiced and from the age of 12 to 15, my voice just went from a little kid that can sing okay to this powerhouse of a voice. But that was.
Did you have lessons in that time at all? No.
I wish I did. Anyone out there, if they've got kids or if they're young, go and have some singing classes. Because years ago it was almost thought of, if you had a singing class, it was because you couldn't sing. But actually there are correct ways to sing. Some people do it naturally.
Ripping and tearing your vocal cords.
I've suffered with vocal injuries for years because I never learned how to sing properly.
But do you know what I do on the other side of that, on the flip coin? I think sometimes when people rip their vocals, they sound better. I listened to Paul Weller when he was younger, and I listen to him now, the huskiness that you get through. So I like that bit of character,
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes when you do have singing classes or singing lessons, you can become quite the same as everyone, like almost musical theatre. Like a lot of kids do musical theatre, they do, they have their classes all the time because they need to have that massive range and they need to protect the voice singing those big songs all day, every day on stage. But yeah, it was just in me. I had a passion, I had a fire, and I always had this knowing within me. Bearing in mind, I grew up in a 2 up, 2 down from a working class family. I just knew 1, I was going to be a successful singer, and 2, I was special.
Brilliant.
In my head, I was like, I know the good things are going to happen to me. It was mad. I just felt it within me.
It's the words that you say to yourself, isn't it? And the visions that you see that do create who you are. That is what I tell people. And like you even laughed then when you said, I know I'm special, because as humans we sort of feel that, we feel like we're being arrogant or we're being big-headed, but we're not. It's actually how you're going to be special if you don't see yourself as special, ain't it?
It was a very innocent feeling of just like, things are going to go well. And I try now as an adult to tap into that,
Well, you put your energy there, didn't you? I understand saying energy flows where the attention goes, and if that's where you're applying it for all them years, 2 hours a day, focusing, it's going to be a bit hard not to be successful, I think. And
it wasn't just 2 hours a day. I was in a show group, so I used to sing in like a big collection of kids. We'd have rehearsals every Thursday night. We'd have a show Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes we could have 2 shows on a Saturday, 2 on a Sunday. We used to do all the pubs, the worker men clubs, the dockers clubs. So I cut my teeth in an industry that was ruthless. These are like working class men and women, long week at work, they just want to get pissed up, and here's a big gang of kids on stage going, singing all these show songs. But it just, if you can get up on stage and do that,
definitely,
you can do it anywhere.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's not the friendly song.
Like total working class roots, but I loved it because by the time I was like 15, people were like putting the pipes down and the G&T and looking and like standing up at the end. And obviously that gives you the big confidence.
When did you realise you could sing? What sort of age when you said that you were using a playground and kids started going, wow, she can sing? When did you realise that?
Well, I was in a school play at the age of 4, Cinderella. At that time, I'd been sick. I suffered a lot with my chest, like pneumonia and stuff. So I'd missed a lot of the rehearsals. And I was like, at that age, going to Mum, no, I'm going to be Cinderella. And I knew another girl was practicing Cinderella, and I was like, no, that's my role. And I went back into school, like I literally went from hospital to school, got on stage, did all the lines and sang all the songs. And the teacher was like, Mrs. Hamilton, I think your daughter's got something here.
Wow.
But we couldn't afford to go to performing arts school because it was very expensive.
Yeah.
Mad.
Didn't need it anyway. So how did it go from there? How did you go from school? When was it? Was how old was you when you sort of kicked into into your band and started getting famous? How old was you around that sort of?
16. So I was 16 and signed a £1.5 million record deal. Obviously that wasn't in our pockets, but that was the commitment the record label were
put up for the album. That's amazing.
Mental, like crazy. I left school.
1.5 mil. What was that? 1999. 99. Shit.
Yeah. So I literally just left school. I went to Performing Arts College, and I was there for about 4 or 5 months. And the teacher said, Tash, come into the office. I've got a job for you, because it was all. I wanted to go into cruise ships. That I was like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to travel and do the cruises. So she said, it was a Wednesday afternoon. She went, there's a holiday park in the lakes. They need a singer for like Friday, so you need to go like tomorrow. And my best mate at the time was in the holiday park. And I said, sorry, Carol, I can't go. I've got an audition on Friday for a girl band.
No, seriously.
So I could have
gone there.
I could have gone there, and who knows? But
could have been a different story. So, what was the audition? Tell us about that. It's interesting. How did that go then? Is that when you met all the girls for the first time?
Not on the first one. So Kerry and Liz were already in the band. They were looking for a third member. My mum saw the audition in the local Liverpool paper, and she was like, I come home from college, she was like, oh, I've got you an audition on Friday. I used to go to loads of auditions. So we turned up, walked in, and I didn't know this till after the audition, but when I was talking to the guy that was going to be our manager, Andy McCluskey, who put together the band, from OMD, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, he walked past and stood behind me and my mum and was going to the manager like, she looks good. And my mum turned round and clocked him. So straight away I was learning songs like what the girls had recorded. I was in the vocal booth. I was only supposed to be there about an hour. They sent everyone else home. No one else got auditioned that day. They just had me there.
That was it, done.
Yeah, and that was kind of it.
Got it, you knew what you wanted.
Well, they were still being.
And how was it between the girls when you first met? What was that like meeting the girls first? Did you hit it straight off?
No.
You never?
No, because Kerry and Liz were living together in this flat. Oh. And obviously I came in and I've been performing for years. I was just like bubbly and confident. I didn't realise at the time Kerry was the unofficial choreographer for the group. So when we started like doing these like routines, and I was like, what about if we do this? Just trying to
put some bits in,
just be accepted.
Creative as well.
Creative. Yeah. Well, Kerry didn't like that, and apparently she went to management and said, I don't like her. If she stays, I'm going.
Oh.
And they says, well, she's staying, so choose what you want to do. So it was a little bit, edgy.
Oh.
A little bit edgy. They were a little bit mean to me at the beginning. Yeah, but we got over it.
The outsider coming, I suppose, breaking the vibe. But it all settled down.
Yeah.
And what was it like going on tour? And
mad. So at first, we were just signed to Andy McCluskey's label, which was an independent label. I think we were getting like £75 a week. But we'd be in the studio all day, every day, singing, recording, some vocal lessons, choreography, just learning to gel as a group.
So all that's paid for you as well?
That was all paid for.
Did they stick you in a place to live together or not?
The girls did, but I was only 16, so that way never going to happen. My mum and dad wouldn't let it happen. And then we were doing like all the clubs up and down the country, like mad clubs, which was hard because people would be out on a Friday and Saturday night, I want to have a good time, and the next minute us three come on stage singing songs they'd never heard, and they'd just all be like, what the fuck? Who are these and why are they on? And it was so nerve-wracking. We used to like feel sick before it. We'd be like, oh, unless it was like the gay clubs, they just loved us from day dot. So we were doing that for a few months, and it was all waking up to going to London for one day to do a big showcase. I think we had 5 or 6 different labels coming in to these like studios, and we had like 5 songs prepared, and you'd have like a few people just sat there looking at you, and we'd have to perform when we were on stage at Wembley.
Brilliant.
And at the end of the day, we had like 5 record deals on the table.
Sure, did you? I bet you.
It gives me goosebumps now because I remember calling my mum and just crying, going, "Oh,
we've
got a record deal!" And she was like, "Who with?" It was like, "Well, we don't know yet, but we've got a couple."
We've definitely got one.
We've got one, yeah.
Fuck, it must have been a good buzz there, especially at 16 as well.
It was, and
you've actually grown up in the business, then, haven't you? Because you're still like basically a kid, aren't you? Like 16, so to think that you've actually grown right through all that.
Yeah.
So what was the first tour like? Do you remember your first tour or your first big stages?
Yeah, I mean, I think we supported Steps on one of their tours. Or was it 911?
911. Yeah.
So that was like the first arena stages, and it was like, yeah, I like
There's a buzz with the sound, the reverb.
Yeah. But we were just travelling around the country in a Chrysler Voyager, staying in these little crappy hotels and doing radio tours like through the day, school tours, oh my god, turning up out of school and going hell for leather, and all the kids just like, hey. But that's how you did it back then. You cut your teeth by having to be right there in front of people's faces. So it was constant.
There wasn't no Facebook and nothing in your face, was there? You had to go and show yourself to people.
It was exhausting.
So how was that mentally for you at that age? Did you know, was it a strain, or did you not realise? Or was it just pure fun? Did it have ups and downs?
I'd say the first 2 years were just like a laugh. We were a little bit mental. We were, I mean, because I was 16, I had a chaperone. But she'd clock off at 9 o'clock. She'd be like, just see you tomorrow. And I'd be in a hotel in the West End of London, like, I wonder what I'm going to do tonight. I'd be out like a shark, getting dressed up, going out, clubbing it, and just having loads of fun. Obviously, once you start getting successful, that's when the pressures start, because your schedule is intense. And you're sleeping in a car or on a plane. You're doing interviews all day long. Even when you're eating food, you're doing an interview, photo shoots. It just becomes very demanding, tiring.
Do you think it's a lot easier for the new singers of today then, with the modern technology and being able to connect a lot easier through the internet and stuff? Do you think they've got it a little bit easier because I suppose you haven't got to travel everywhere as much? Or not?
I mean, because I've never been a fly on a wall on how people tour now, I don't know what it's like, but in a weird way it was easy for us because we didn't have social media, so we weren't easily accessible and we didn't have the trolling to our face. But what we did have back then was the intrusion of the media. So the media was like really powerful then, and you know, we were...
Yeah, they could tap phones, anything back then.
Well, we were. So we've been like involved in the phone hacking. My phone was hacked for 5 years, turns out. So nothing was private. Everything that was happening in your life ended up in the paper. We were paranoid to death because there was no secrets. Because everything was
getting hold of it. And
so we didn't trust anyone. You know, your circle becomes smaller. You can't leave the house because you've got people sat in vans following you with a camera, and we were kids.
Exactly, the pressure of that age.
And then when you make a mistake, and you know, it's
everywhere.
And that's even now the anxiety. I go, because we were just kids still growing up, but we were role models at the same time.
So since you come away from music, you don't come away from, you still do music, you know, I love listening to you sing, always watching you on Instagram, and Bowdoils?
At the Boysdale.
Boysdale, I see you post that one, it was phenomenal, so get on our Instagram and have a listen, it's amazing. It's like a jazz, you do like jazz sort of sing songs in that there, and soul stuff, I love it. So since then, what's been going on with you? So since the end of the what's been going on there?
How long have you got?
Keep rolling.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time finding myself. After Atomic Kitten, you know, I had a baby, I had postnatal depression, and I had to come away from it because I wasn't well. And I wasn't given the time that I needed to just be a mum.
Find yourself.
Recharge, be a mum.
Did you find there was time you needed to find yourself as well? You know, like coming from that way of life to just trying to be a little bit normal for a while. Did that was that like shock who you are, what do I like? Was it anything like that?
Yeah, because I just wanted to be normal, but you know, when you're in the biggest girl band, or one of the biggest girl bands on the planet, people don't treat you normally. So I'd grown up in this intense bubble, totally wrapped in cotton wool for 5 years, and then all of a sudden I'm out of that, and they're all doing their thing over there, and I'm literally just on my own here, going, I don't know how to live a normal life. Yeah. You know, my whole life was scheduled, and all of a sudden I'm like, what do we do? So, you know, I'm going to like toddler groups and things like that, but everyone's like, you know, I was living in London, my family was up north, so it was like finding friends, but the right friends, people who weren't just using me for who I was. And I lived in East London, so I lived in Wanstead. I ended up making some brilliant friends. A girl called Harriet, shout out to Harriet, her family were like my family away from home, and that was really nice, but it was just difficult being in London on my own with the kids, no family.
Yeah, I could imagine.
So I ended up moving back up north, and then I got married and settled down. Was married for 7 years, got divorced, lost the plot a little bit, went through, you know, some mental health ups and downs. And then I had my daughter in 2014.
Do you feel like sometimes when you look back on life, like for me, I look back through the hard times I've had, at the time it feels like the worst thing in the world, but when you look back it feels like I needed to go through that. I don't know about you, but I look for someone else and I think, you know, that gave me the motivation. You know, I look back up when I was about 22, I thought my life was fucked, I thought it was over, you know, there was that going for me, you know, in my head. And I look back now and I think that was good, because when I did get a bit of light, I fucking grabbed it with 2 hands and worked it even harder.
I do, but it's taken me a long time to get to a point where I've healed from it, because like one of the worst things that, like, I've been.
Can I just one second? When you look back now, when you look at how you healed, if you could look back at your younger self now, as the wiser you, because I know you're really big into positivity and mind now, you work on it all the time. Looking back now, looking how you did heal, what advice would you give yourself now if you could look back? What advice would you give her now to heal quicker, if you could, with the knowledge that you have now? What sort of advice do you think you would have gone for? I find it difficult to answer that question, because growing up in this band, like I fast forwarded life. I had to become an adult before I'd lived being a kid. Yeah. So there was a lot of missing knowledge. Like, yes,
I missed out on all those informative years between 16 and 21, 22, 23.
Which is a big important part of
very important. I was living a life as an adult, wrapped in cotton wool, being told what to do every day. I wasn't making, you know, those everyday mistakes. I wasn't going out, hanging out with my friends and dating boys, and it just being like really chilled and casual and having fun. It was very intense. So I feel like I just never got to know who Natasha Hamilton was. I was always Natasha from Atomic Kitten.
Or even the developer.
Yeah. So all of a sudden I'm 22, I've left the band, and I'm like, I didn't know what I was doing. So I made loads of silly, you know, decisions. I was terrified to be on my own. You know, I come from a family where my mum and dad, you know, they're still married. We were brought up in a house full of love. Yeah. For me, the man was the protector. And then when I was in Atomic Kitten, you know, it was like, I didn't know how to be alone. So I was seeking security, not from myself, but from external factors like relationships with people, you know, being in a relationship with a guy, because to me, that's what kept me safe. And now it's mad, because when I look back, like I was putting guys on a pedestal, like thinking, I want you to protect me the way my dad protected me. And they couldn't come anywhere close, because they were just young lads making mistakes. So they never had a chance, really, because I was putting them up here. Straight away, I was like, no, you're shit. So it's like, it's bad. I mean, I'm not...
That's a good point, you know, because I always find this sometimes, you get a lot of, when the girl's been loved so much by a good dad, they find it hard with a partner, because they think they're going to be, they want that same sort of devotion and a bit of
stability. And
as you just said, they ain't grown up enough to get to that point.
No, not at all.
And I'm sure even your dad weren't with your mum when he was young. It's just a part of evolution, isn't it?
Of course.
And some girls, they get so spoiled as well by their dad, that when they get a boyfriend, they just expect the boyfriend to love them. I had a friend once, a girlfriend, and she went to me. She was going, I want a man to be like this, he's got to do that, he's got to take me out, but he's got to be smart, he's got to be a bit manly, but also kind. I'm like, I looked at him, fucking hell. I went, what are you going to do for him then? And she went like that. What? Like, what? I went, well, what are you going to do for him? They do all them things for you, what are you going to do for him? She was like, her eyes were going like, what do you... Like, she couldn't understand the fucking question. She was so... You know, into her own what she wanted, now everyone should be around her, like she's an angel, like she's some princess. But when she had nothing to give. No wonder why she was single. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's so hard, because when I look back as well, I was this young girl in a very successful band with a very successful career. You know, I was the breadwinner when it comes to being in a relationship with a guy. I'd be the one taking us out and buying stuff and doing things, which obviously for a young guy as well, That's going to do their head in. But some people like that, and some people did take advantage of my generosity. You know, I've gone through a lot of
I can imagine.
situations where I look back now and go,
what the fuck?
What were you even thinking, Tash? But, you know, you live and you learn, and it's not all about money, but people take the piss. So when I look back, it's just like, and I'm telling you now, it's only in my 30s, mid to late 30s now, that I can analyse that and go, because it was so painful to me what I went through, blocked it out. And that's why I kept making that mistake again and again. And then when I had my little girl, and I had a full breakdown, and I was under the care of the mental health team, care of a psychiatrist, it was then I was just like, we can't keep doing this, Tash. Like, you need to sort shit out.
Yeah.
And in a way, I just being honest with myself and going, okay, there is a problem here, whatever it is, go and find out what it is. It was like just baby steps then, like one foot in front of the other, and I had to get my own independence. I had to make that choice, and for me it was enrolling back into college. I went to beauty school, one day a week. The boys were in school anyway. I'd have a friend looking after Ella. I'd get my tunic on. I was studying for exams, and all of a sudden it was like, this is who Natasha Hamilton is. I'm not just Natasha from Atomic Kitten. I'm a woman who wants other things, and I can study and I can go to college.
Did you think the odds? Because I know like a lot of footballers, golfers. I say more footballers though. When I've worked with them, they come out of football. They don't know who they are. And boxers, they don't know what the fuck they want to do. They're not eating the booze or the gamble. And what you're saying, you've become a mum. I think that's what people lose. They've got this vision when they were younger, like you did have, and you couldn't wait. You worked every day. You grafted harder than anyone. And while you had that vision of who you was going to be, life's happy. But the minute we what's the word? We get to our point where we've hit that, we've done it. It's pinnacle. It's done. We've done it. People don't teach us that was actually the thing that making you happy. Was your vision? Was your goal? People don't teach us at a young age that we need to raise our standards. We need to create the next level. And I think with musicians, footballers, boxers, once they finish their career, they're chucked out. And they think, and even in the army or whatever, it's the same sort of thing. They come out, they don't know where they're going, what they're going to do. Especially if you've been told where to sleep, where to talk. Your job's there at 3 tomorrow. All of a sudden, who the fuck are you? Then what am I going to do now? And I think that's the hardest thing, is that people don't teach us that in school we need visions, we need goals. When I get clients go, what do you want from us? I just want to be happy. I mean, you can't just be fucking happy, because you'd be a nutcase. I mean, if I say you'd be happy, you go, why are you happy? Well, we're going, I like cakes and like chocolate cakes and all sorts. He feeds off his fucking head. You can't just be happy. You need something to stimulate you to be happy. You need to have something to go towards. We're happiest when we're moving towards it. When we get to the end goal, we hit like a big dopamine rush, and we can stay there for a couple of months or something. But then that becomes the norm, and without something to move forward to, we become depressed. Depression is not seeing the future. When like I say, when you finish your career and you move into normality, when you don't know who you are, you don't know where you want it to go. That's really what you don't know what the next step is for you. We become depressed when you finish a relationship with someone and you love them and they've been cheated and fucked off. All of a sudden, you had these visions of being married and living abroad, or whatever the visions were. All of a sudden, you split up. Your future visions all crumbled. So all you think about is the here and now, which is he ain't here no more. Then you think about him. I was shaking that tart last week when you was at bingo. I was like, I'm bingo. Like when that comes
I love bingo.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, or you're thinking about how happy you once was. And if you think I was so happy with him back then, in the present moment, you're saying I'm not happy now. So you end up in this loop again. Thoughts go from here and out to the past, here and out to the past. And that's what depression is. And I think, like with my podcast with Jamie O'Hara, it's worth having a listen to. You see how he fucked his sort of career, because he said, I visualise, people going to me, Rob, how did you become a Premiership player? And he said, all I used to do, what I'd done was play football, and I used to see myself being a Premiership player playing for Tottenham since I was a kid. That's all I'd done. See myself playing for Tottenham and play football. And I used to look at me and think, he's like, you flash bastard, like, you think I'm being flashed, but I didn't know what else to fucking tell him. That was the truth. All I'd done was keep seeing myself with this end goal, and I just keep playing football. That was all I'd done. There wasn't anything else I could fucking tell you. And it wasn't until he got to Tottenham that he fucked up, because he said what happened is, once I made the team, the first team, I weren't training to make the team anymore. I was training to play Saturday. Do you know what I'm saying? He said I was just sustaining my fitness, and instead of what he said is now, after learning about the mind with me, he said, what I should have been doing is visualising scoring 30 goals for Tottenham that season. I should have been visualising playing for England first team. He said, but I got caught in the moment, 40 grand a week. I'm living in the moment. There weren't no future goals, so I started
what was he being recommended? Because this is what I look back on, right? When I got signed that record deal, right? Even though that wasn't all the money I was given, I started earning more money than my parents were earning at the age of 16, right? So that's mental.
Yeah, that is mental.
We weren't given a financial advisor. No one said you need a financial advisor, you need a coach or a confidant who you can talk to. Like, for me, this is what I would be recommending. Like you said about people in the army, I've got a son, he's a paratrooper now, right? Like, because I've left home at 16 like he did, been dedicated to one thing, which, you know, he's doing his dream, but I'm saying to him, think about what you want to do after.
Good. Because this is exactly what I'm talking about. We need this. Yeah. Because otherwise they get in there. I've got mates like it that come out off the red on the coke. They've gone in the army and they've been taught to kill. That's what they talk to. The songs they tell me, what blood on the grass, and I see these mad songs. They brainwash them to kill and, you know, feel good about it. Then they come out into the normal world and they don't know how to cope. They're like, they don't know who they fucking are anymore out here. So either go back in or they get on the pack here and then all the trauma kicks in that they thought was good. All of a sudden they get back in the civvy street and they've got to deal with all the shit that they've seen. So I think, you know, the ones that do come out and do well are the ones, you know, if they got the next level. You come out, you set yourself,
but it's the support. You don't know what you don't know. I didn't know that I needed a financial advisor.
This is most of people's problems when they come to me. When they're anxious, they don't know what they want in life. What do you want in life? I just want to be happy. I'm telling you, I get it all the time. I think you can't just fucking be happy. You need something to go towards. You need to find something yourself. You know? If it's just going down the cost of reading a book on a fucking Tuesday away from your kids and your husband, if that's your thing, fucking do something. At least try to have something to look forward to, you know. And I think that's amazing what you said about your son. What you can do after. That's because
he's already planning now.
That's
you
good.
know, it's like make sure you're saving your money and. He wants to invest into something, which is good because he's seen, like, he's growing up with, like, me and his dad and whoever else in his life who have got their own, the self-employed, you know, they've got their own business. He sees the graft. Like, I went into a world totally different to my parents. They, you know, they've worked for other people all their lives. It just wasn't something we knew about. You know, we never had an abundance of money. Luckily, I did invest money in property because back then it was like property. Well, I say luckily, no, unfortunately, I invested all my money in property. I lost it all when everything went bust. But you know what? I've had money, I've lost money. Money don't make you happy.
No, it doesn't. No.
It helps.
Makes you comfortable.
It helps, but it's not about the money. It's about where do you want to be in life? What are you working towards? And once you get it, you need to keep moving the goal. The goal needs to continuously move.
Exactly. That future. And that too many people are walking forward, looking backwards. You know, that's what they're doing. Look at the past, what they've got to overcome, the problems that have been traumatized them, and the things that have gone wrong in life. And they're walking forward. I can't do this again. I can't do that again. If you walk forward looking backwards, you're walking to a fucking wall. And that's literally what I've seen 80%, 90% of people doing in their mindsets. That they're not facing the right direction. And like yourself, you've had to go through all that to discover, like, fuck this, I'm gonna hit the next levels.
I've got stuck.
I
got stuck for about 7 years, like literally just going round in this, like this, going like, and when I look back now, I go, oh, bless you. But when the time's right, some people are lucky, some people have got the right people who can hold the hand out and go, come on.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't, and you just have to figure it out yourself. But when you do end up figuring it out, it's like, oh wow, and it's like pride of, I fucking did it, like I've finally did it, and I was going to say cracked it then, you know what, for me, like your well-being, like looking after your mind, your body, your soul, it's every day. It's not a quick fix.
No.
Like,
it's something you've got to work on. I get up every day with my breath work, my visualizations, you know, I've been getting big into visualizations for years, but you know, the breathing side of things now as well. Before I meditate every day. But you have to raise your vibration, and I've been studying a lot more quantum physics lately, and you can see like it is quantum physics. It ain't an option. Whatever vibration you're feeling throughout the day. So I think if I get up and feel bad, and I do my breathing and my meditating and visualising, it raises my frequency. I definitely feel better. Even if, if I go for a run, again, it helps to lift it. But, if I feel bad, it makes me feel better. And if I feel good, then I feel fucking great. Do you know what I mean? So I think you have got to just make that effort in the morning. It ain't even long, it's only 5 minutes or something. But you can do a bit longer if you want. But it's just making sure you put that thing first thing in the morning to lift your vibration. Because there's so many people out there want to bring you down, kick it down anyway,
But what I've realised is, like, I'm the one in the driving seat, I'm the one in control, I'm the one in control of where I'm going, how I feel is all down to me.
Yes.
And the day I stopped looking for someone else to come and save me, or like honestly, I genuinely loved a bit of a pity party. When I look back, it was like, oh, why is this happening to me? Like this is so bad.
And you like talking about it. People enjoy talking about it, and actually fucking get off on telling people about it. Yeah.
And I've had to give myself a little, slap and go. Hang on a minute, like get some balls, own your shit. Get on with it.
This is all down to a lot of like. It's why I don't like. I love psychotherapy's got its good stuff, and it's also got stuff that I don't agree with. Psychotherapy is good at understanding why patterns of behaviour. It's good for criminal psychology and shit like that. Understand the way people think to go and catch. I get all that. It's fucking amazing. But when it comes to change, to move forward, they still look at model of cause and effect. Yeah. Now the cause and effect is the old model of reality, and this is how we get our problems, folks. Something outside of us will happen which will cause us our trauma. We're not going to do it to ourselves on purpose, yeah? So, split up with an ex is going to cause you trauma. Someone hitting you is going to cause you trauma. Fucking trauma. So whatever happens outside it will cause you problems mentally and physically and emotionally inside. That's a fact, cause and effect. But how we create change is the opposite way around. It ain't from outside in, it's from the inside out. So this is why visualisation is so important. If you close your eyes and visualise your end goal, you can predict the effect. So you're creating the cause. If you practice that every day, you're going to create that cause like you did when you was young, seeing yourself as successful and as somebody special, and and you could predict the effect. That's what the more you see it, the more you predicted it, and then when you got there, it was just how I fucking see it. Yeah. So you got cause and effect outside. It creates the problem, but for change, you got to go inside yourself and create the cause, and you can predict the effect at that point before it even comes to you. So
you've just got to take responsibility, haven't you?
Yeah, you have. So I love when you said
that you want. And when you are in a negative headspace, I get it, it's not easy. It's not easy, but at some point, everyone that transitioned from negative to positive took responsibility. And it's going to happen at a different point for everyone.
Yeah.
But you've got to be just open to going, okay, time to change.
Definitely. But thank you very much for coming today. And just looking at the time now, I know you've got to get to that appointment, you said. But thank you very much for coming. And was that amazing, everyone? I could talk to Natasha all day long. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week at the MindKite Podcast. Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.